2025 Commissioners Meeting. Welcome. Hope everybody has a comfy seat. Might be a long one tonight. There are Title VI forms in the back corner by the door. Feel free to get one of those if you would like and fill it out, turn it in at the auditor's office. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Chris Ramey, you want to start us off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and join Pastor Janet Hodson from Bernie Baptist Church in prayer.
Almighty God, we come before you and we just seek your guidance, Father, as we gather to address the opportunities and the challenges in our community. Father, we thank you that you will grant us wisdom and discernment, and we thank you that you'll grant it to each member of our committees and that they may serve with integrity and be fair in all their deliberations, Father God. We thank you for the leadership, the men and women that you've provided us in our community. We ask that you would guard and protect them, Father God. We thank you, Father God, that tonight's meeting will be discussed and be marked by respect and understanding, and that we would find common ground, Father, in pursuit for the common good of our community. We pray for the well-being of the residents of Decatur County, Father. We ask that your hand of blessing would be upon our community. May your love and your grace be with us as we work together to build a better future, and so that we can raise our children here, Father God, and just a loving place. We honor you, and we are so grateful for all you have done for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Janet. Okay. Did you guys have an opportunity to review the minutes from March 7th?
Yeah, dude.
Any discussion, any amendments or changes?
Make a motion to approve. Yeah, second that.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on next to the March 28th executive session meeting minutes. Any discussion, any amendments?
Make a motion to approve. I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to claims.
The claims look okay to me. I made a motion to accept those. I didn't see anything either. I'll second.
I was in the same place. I didn't see anything that was potentially questionable or that I didn't know what it was. This one, so we had motion. All those in favor of passing claims or approving claims, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Looking at payroll. For the week of March 28th, 2025. Total amount was $388,797.70. You guys have any questions about payroll?
I did not. I did not notice anything out of it. I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. You want to hand that down? We are going to move one of the agenda topics up. I know that the sheriff had asked me to move this up because he has a prior engagement that he needs to be at for the merit board. And so we're going to go ahead and move up the policy review down there towards the bottom of cell phones and overtime now to start first with that topic. So when you guys look through claims, you'll see cell phone claims that could cover the actual calling portion of the cell plan, and then also the data portion of our cell plan or of the cell plan. And our handbook does not specifically delineate one or the other. And our handbook also does not specifically list who should be allowed to have a cell phone reimbursement by the county.
So the way I read the policy is I feel like there's a delineation that you get either or. a call subsidy, which is $35 a month, or a data subsidy at $45 a month. That's my interpretation.
I
of the
think
policy.
I think we need to be a little bit more clear on what it actually says.
Okay,
Because there are several claims every month that come in, or at least one claim every month that comes in, where someone is getting booked.
correct.
And so I think that we just need to be clear about what specifically it is in that
I agree.
policy
I agree.
to ensure that that kind of thing does not happen. And when I say it's, I don't think it's necessarily clear. When you look at the policy, it does not take into account the possibility of having multiple roles within the county, which is how certain folks can get cell phone from one department and data from another. And so the policy does not specifically delineate that it's either or one person. One person only gets either or, even if you have multiple separate roles within the county.
All right.
So I think our policy is that one person is only allowed one or the other.
So you want an amendment to the policy?
I think that we need to have an amendment to the policy. Yes.
For clarification.
Yes.
Well, and I'm sure that this was written before, I mean, obviously it was written, call and then call and data. Now it's obviously all over into one. So
Yep.
I just think it needs to be rewritten as just some reimbursement at X price
Right.
or, determined if necessary.
I think then your next question, Jeremy, is who is eligible for that subsidy, correct?
Yes, that's the next portion of it. I think it should be folks that are on call, that their department requires them to be on call at certain times. So department heads or individuals who would have to go out to a certain location or answer phone calls for immediate concerns. So I mean, just off the top of my head, that could include your highway department superintendents or supervisors as well. I don't believe that every single employee at the highway department should be eligible. Probation, there are individuals at probation that would have to answer calls at off hours for that. And so that's kind of where I'm looking at it. Individuals that do not work overtime are working in an office. I don't believe should be eligible for county reimbursement. My list is not complete there, but I think that we do need to develop a list of departments that are eligible for that. And so that's why we need to make sure that we have that discussion.
I think anytime if your cell phone is the primary means of communication between you and your supervisor, that would dictate that you should get a reimbursement. But yeah, I do agree. I mean, we can let department heads also make that decision for extra consideration.
I think I would err on that, is let the department heads educate us on how their employees are using it and or if it's necessary.
And I'm absolutely open to that. We see a lot of cell phone reimbursements, and I think we need to take a look at the number of cell phone reimbursements we have.
Do we purchase cell phones for employees? Or do we just?
Well, so certain departments do. Yeah, certain departments do. I think the sheriff's department does for theirs. Leanne, you guys do.
And it's only for admin
Yeah.
right now, but technically everybody is considered to be on call.
Right.
In case.
And so like the wording that you had, your primary source of communication with your supervisors via cell phone, well, that's not necessarily true for like the sheriff's department. When they're out working, they have radios, and so that's not their primary.
And for the
That's
record,
where
we only issue 9. But that's where the department, out of all of our employees, we have just our supervisors, like Leanne was saying, just the supervisors and administrators.
Yeah, and so the rest of your road guys are, and they are not reimbursed
They're
through
not
your
reimbursed.
budget, and I know they aren't reimbursed that we see through other clients. So. Okay. So we can start working on, we need a list. I think we have a list already. I've seen a list of folks that are on it. And then we can shoot an email out to department heads or some of those affected folks to determine if it's truly necessary that they have cell phone reimbursement from the county. Anything else on cell phones at this point?
How are you gonna dictate the amount it's reimbursed?
It's gonna go to, I would put it as one fee, my personal opinion. I mean, we would,
Total of the two you're doing currently then?
yeah, because I think this was written.
That still works?
Not the total of the two.
It wouldn't be the total. I
It'll
mean,
be one.
if you look at your cell phone bill now, if you're paying $100 for a line, you're doing really well. And if we're paying the total, I think that'd be roughly $80. And so right now, I think cell phone reimbursement is 35.
35 and 45.
And so I don't think 80 is, it'll be somewhere in that ballpark because like
Just one number. You gotta come up with a number.
like Gabe said, I mean, this policy was written a long time ago on that section. And so, I mean, we may increase it a little bit, but I don't see $80.
That's all I have for that.
All right. Moving on then to overtime. I think we were all included on an email about some questions on overtime, who's eligible and how exactly we should be paying overtime. Thoughts?
Me personally, I mean, I would say as a general rule of thumb, in order to get PTO, it's typically 40 hours worked. So that means 40 hours physically worked, not including PTO or holiday pay. Once you hit those 40 hours, then you start to accrue overtime. And from some of the stuff that I saw now, that's not the way it makes it be done. Maybe calculated as a per day basis or other basis, and that I personally think that hours work overtime.
What, the only thing is I sit here, what are you doing? if Somebody takes a vacation day or a sick day or something like that. They're already, it's different from PTO.
Our PTO is
It's all.
it's all considered sick.
Oh, I thought that was a separate thing.
No,
It's all
Okay.
based on.
Paid, paid time off is sick leave.
Okay,
both in there.
okay. So we don't. So somebody takes a day off because it's a sick kid, or whatever. You're in the same boat there.
Mhm. It's
Right.
all PTO.
That's where you are too, Brian,
Mhm.
as far as like Gabe's position on that.
I think, you know, in my previous employment, that's the way it always was. It had to be physical hours worked at a certain level. And once you reach that level, then you were eligible for PTO. But it wasn't, or I'm sorry, overtime, not PTO. But you had to physically work. If you took a day off, we use PTO now. It's the same way. If you took a PTO off, you weren't there working, that didn't count towards your, in my case, 24 hours, didn't matter, but 8 hours. That didn't go towards your OT.
So you didn't
You
have
had
to
to
work
be working.
those, you have to work those 8 hours that for others may be overtime. But for you, because you haven't worked your 8 hours for that particular day that you took off, you have to work that 8 hours to make that up. And if you're out for 4 additional hours, you only get overtime on those additional 4 hours.
If you physically worked over 40 hours,
Yep.
then you got OT, overtime.
And it's unfortunate. I mean, there is sometimes, it happens to me, you know, you gotta take sick time with the, you know, kid gets sick or whatever that might be. It's unfortunate that in those very rare scenarios, then you have to work overtime on top. But typically, I mean, when you know there's something that may be calling for overtime coming, you know, you would try to refrain from taking PTO during that time, knowing that I'm gonna have to work the extra hours straight time. It's how my past employment is.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but the departmental language defines exactly how you have to handle that, so you might want to.
That's how we used to do it.
We've pulled it.
I don't know if you have like different rules or something.
No, we do both.
If The fair,
Fair Labor Standards.
the FLSA states that that's the way that it's typically done. However, I mean, then if you, just like everything else, it says, unless you decide.
We have that discretion. So, I know Sheriff, you would want to,
If I may, there are a couple circumstances where we have paid overtime. Number one's court, we have no control of the court when we get called to court. So if one of our guys, gals have taken PTO, we still have court, we've been paying that. And another emergency situation, like last week when the weather came through on Wednesday night, we called in 4 extra guys to be out covering the county. So we were paying overtime in those two situations. Because again, those are emergency situations where we had no control.
how many situations would you run into where you have the same situation that we're talking about here, where somebody's taking time off and then they have work time?
It's minimal, it's not a lot. If somebody's working a shift, and they have to stay over a couple hours because something's going on, they do not get paid overtime for that. You have to flex that the next day. So again, we're talking about specific situations. And again, the weather doesn't happen a lot, but there are certain situations we have to take people out.
I know in emergency services, same way with us. We got called in, we got overtime, regardless of our work that week.
Right.
It was an emergency, we got called in.
Right.
And I would correlate that to the highway department. When it's a snow emergency or something like that, weather related, when they get called in, it would be overtime, regardless if they had taken a PTO or whatever that day. That's my thought process, initial thought process.
Yeah, and again, we have no control over the court system as well. So, in the same if you will, people come out.
And I'm fine if there's separation, I guess, between that. It's just for me, I want to make sure that we don't come in and work, 12 hours a day, and that's 8 hours straight time, 4 hours overtime immediately, and then we decide to take off half day Thursday and Friday because, we're gonna get paid the overtime on the, let's say, 18 hours we worked and extra overtime on Monday through Wednesday, but then we take off a half day Thursday and Friday, and now we're getting paid overtime when we're on PTO.
That's gaming the system, my
Yeah.
concern there.
The emergency piece, I'm okay.
Keep watching that. We don't want to game in the situation, we don't allow it to happen.
We
Again,
have,
some special circumstances. Okay.
we have overtime approval sheets that are filled out by supervisors and then division heads. So our purpose for having that overtime is reviewed at least 3 times prior to making it to payroll, and then we maintain those. And like the sheriff said, the only time that we really allow them to claim that time at all is on call outs. So that's called out from an off-duty status. And like the sheriff said, that's training, that's the emergency call outs, and that's court. Everything else from that, not only, they're not allowed to claim it. So if they work a 14-hour shift, tomorrow's a 10-hour shift. And also just bear in mind, with our PTO, we only have 3 or 4 guys per shift. So I think you asked, how often does that happen? Well, it happens. It's not super routine, but it's not rare either. I can only have 1 or possibly 2 guys off on a shift. So I can't have multiple people on vacation. Those guys, the longer that they're there, the more they have. So managing that schedule sometimes is difficult. So it does happen where we have people that are taking PTO and then getting called out. Our transports are huge, and we run into a lot of that problems with the jail and having to do out-of-county transports. We don't have enough staff to send someone who's on duty, so we are very routinely calling detention deputies in from an off-duty status to do those out-of-county transports. So that's tough. Those are tough for us to manage.
And I'm again okay with making a separation to that, exclusion to that policy, but as a standard rule of thumb, in my opinion, it should be based on 40 hours worked through after. If it's an emergency situation, then that can be a separate, again, this is my opinion, that can be a separate piece, right? Anytime we're called in for an emergency service, that could be overtime because of course you could not plan for that. But I just want to make sure that we're not accruing during the week and then taking PTO to.
Yeah. As he said,
And that's not directed, that's directed at the county.
Sure. yeah, we're not abusing it by any means.
Leanne, anything from your department?
There's been some confusion since I took over. The auditor's office and I have spoken with that on some of the discrepancies. In our personal policy, it actually states the holiday is the biggest concern, because if somebody takes a holiday, then they have scheduled overtime or if it's a call-in, they would normally, and it's in our policy, holidays count towards work. I'm in the midst of updating our SOPs with Ritter, so that's something I've got on the side, waiting on clarification from.
Todd, anything?
Well, for example, it's just one example, I had a guy took PTO all last week. And already had it scheduled. We had a flood this weekend, multiple culvert pipes flood, roads overflowing. So basically, a lot of guys got called in, we worked all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So those particular guys, even if they got called in, okay, to work, it basically did show up as overtime.
But again, the separation between that would be, that was an unforeseen instance, right? I mean, how many times do we hear that there's gonna be severe weather or tons of rain and it doesn't, right? But to me, I would look at that as different.
In my opinion, that's an emergency call. Right. And that's considered overtime, regardless of how many hours you work during that week. You're off duty, they call you in and say, hey, we need this road plow, or we need this. That's calling you from home into work. That is considered, in my opinion, overtime.
I don't think they purposely took 5 days off because they knew it was gonna flood.
No, right.
Right, and that's fine, that's emergency call line.
Because a lot of times we do get call stop sign down in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's a call. That's overtime.
Emergency
Yeah.
call.
So it sounds like we need to add an emergency service.
Understand.
Yes,
I agree.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that is called for. I think that's appropriate. So as far as just that one, we can make we can adopt the actual changes at the next meeting. Patty, if you want to draft that up, how you see fit with your HR experience. And then we can vote on the changes at the next meeting.
And just to clarify real quick, so again, the main things that we are paying that overtime for is training, court, and our call outs. And obviously, training isn't gonna fit because we can plan around that. But court, that's one that we can't control and can't plan around, and then the call out. So for us, we would ask for both of those. And then we'll modify what we're doing as far as our training.
I'd also like to ask this question. When we're talking about OT, are we talking time and a half or
Time.
And Todd, same for you guys.
Yeah.
Leanne?
Yeah.
Anybody else in the room that I missed it? Teresa, do you guys have any overtime concerns?
They usually use comp time and switch it out. They don't typically pay overtime.
but you're earning it as comp time.
They're getting equal time off, yeah.
So you're earning overtime, but you're not getting it paid, you're using it to take it off.
Or just-
But once it's translated straight time off.
And then you'll address the holiday as well, or where do you stand on it? If there's a holiday and then there's.
The holiday, in my opinion, is the same as a PTO. It is, you get that day off, you get paid for that day off, but you're not physically working.
I do struggle with some of that in emergency services because emergency services, it's not a holiday, right? I mean, there's, when in my past job, when we were off that day. Yeah, there's a chance maybe called in for something, but that's not an off day for some folks. I mean, you work that day regardless. And if you work Monday, whether it's Labor Day or whether it's not. So I personally, in emergency services, I would see that as an hour, that day worked in consideration.
I think that's why they wrote it that way
So if you.
We found a discrepancy with the county handbook policy, just a few weeks ago, I think, for something that not submit, where our personal department policy said that's the only one that would count, whereas if that were military time off.
So for me, I find that it's just emergency services though. I mean, just because you don't have days off.
I think that helps. Patty, do you have any questions on your end?
So will those changes go in effect before the next payroll that we submit, because obviously we submitted today?
We haven't adopted any
Okay, so
official
leave
changes.
as is.
Yeah, we have to get that, both of those written up for the cell phone policy and the overtime. We'll address it at the next meeting. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay. Moving on to Todd Houghton, Highway Department.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. Since we met last, we've continued to do just our general maintenance. Bushwhacking, vegetation, spraying and mowing, tree trimming, dirt patching on the roads that are still blowing up, freeze and thaw, hot boxing. We're continuing to do those particular activities every day. One of the things I had put on the agenda was I needed you guys to sign the unofficial detour reimbursement contract with NDOT. And this one pertains to the pavement they did on State Road 3. Okay, our detour route was 700 west to 1300 out of the county. Okay, so NDOT has videoed that road and agreed to pay the county back for some of those repairs. I think it's $124,000, something like that. So actually, I need this contract signed so I can send it back to NDOT. And they will mail us a check to make those repairs, I think is how it works. Or we make those repairs and they pay up to $124,000.
Is there any wiggle room in there, or do you feel that's fair, or is that all we're getting? I mean, that's it.
Well, typically what I do, typically what you do is you have a contractor quote.
Okay.
Okay. And in this circumstance, it was Globe. And normally those numbers are inflated because NDOT's normally going to barter back and forth on what they want to pay. I think the initial quote I sent to them was $155,000. So I feel this is going to cover that, in my opinion.
How you came up with that price? And then through an estimate, you had an estimate or somebody look at it.
Yes, I had Globe go out there and take a look at it. He looked at, and see, the one thing that we didn't have prior to that was a video of the road or pictures of the road, what areas were bad, we would know a couple of them, like on 700 West, the road slid. We just had that road paved just a couple of years ago. So it was evident that was a needed repair. But some of the running places and just places that just got tore up from trucks getting off the road, trying to take that detour route, I had no idea where they were. So I just had Mark just assess the whole detour route and give me a number. Okay. NDOT reached out to me in regards to that, wanted to know if I had photos. And I told it's Nicole Carter that I'm working with on this detour route. I told her, I said, they came out and videoed that prior, because that's an unofficial detour that you guys had to sign. I think it wasn't you guys, but the former commissioners had to sign that. And then after the construction's done, they come out and re-video it. They will not make repairs to make the road better than what it was, but it'll make it back to what it was.
Yeah, we had signed the official detour back on April 1st of 2024.
You guys have any other questions on that?
it looks like the total amount there is $124,312.50
Okay,
for reimbursement. Any other questions?
sounds good.
I'm good on that, yeah.
I
Okay.
would entertain a motion to go ahead and accept the reimbursement contract.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. I also had contact while I was on vacation from a claim specialist from the railroad in regards to 350 West, the damage. I told her I was on vacation. I'd get her some documents when I got back. So I sent her the pictures of the damage. I sent her all the estimates of the repairs we made after the event, stone, equipment, just everything. So she's got everything. So I'm hoping that's moving forward and we'll see something happening on that in the near future. Okay. Just this last week, we had a kickoff meeting with our bridge inspectors. Our compliance month for bridge inspections is April and May. So our United Bridge Inspection people will be in the county for the rest of this month and the first part of next month. I think in this month, they got 140 bridges they got to inspect. And then I think they have another 40 or 50 to do in May. This weekend, basically all we worked on was flooding issues, a lot of damaged roads, a lot of culvert pipes plugged up. So pretty much we had guys got called in to work pretty much most of the weekend. But I think that's all I have to report.
Back to the contract with the reimbursement on that topic, Todd. Will you be bidding that work out then for the $124,000 for that road repair?
I guess I need to, yeah,
So you need to get the specs for that done and then bring it and we can announce it
okay,
so that we can make that official.
all right.
Anything else on that, Todd?
No, I should be good. Do you guys have anything for me?
I think so. Let's go ahead and do bids then while we're on your topic.
All right,
The first one I have here is the stone bids. I think Todd's recommendation last meeting was to accept all stone bids.
Yes.
yeah, I would recommend that, just for the fact that we've run a couple of these quarries out of certain stone that we need to have to make some of the scour repairs for bridge maintenance.
I believe also you want to accept all bids for the bituminous mixtures as well.
Correct.
Let's handle them one at a time. Quick, Brian. All right, so on stone bids, is there a motion to accept all proposed bids or all submitted bids for the stone?
I'll make a motion to accept any and all bids on stone bids 2025.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay. The next one I have here are the fuel bids. So we had received bids from Premier Energy and then Keystone Cooperative. Any discussion, gentlemen? The one, I guess I'll hop in, the one part of it that was my concern was the local station. I saw that Premier already has local station capabilities. Keystone, they said they were going to be partnering with someone. I did not see a contract or actual agreement that had been submitted there. That's my biggest concern.
That was mine as well. Another thing is, obviously fuel, Keystone was more, when it comes to gasoline. And with us making such an initiative to push county vehicles to the highway department to fill up, that, and we're gonna increase the amount of unleaded gasoline they drive by a tremendous amount.
Yeah, and I think that the increase in the 87 octane, that's the fuel the county uses the most. So there is a difference in their price per gallon.
I would make a motion to accept Premier Energy for the fuel bid.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Premier receive that bid, or receive that contract. Mixtures.
Would you mind, just recapping what the prices on those were?
Sure.
I mean, unleaded specifically.
There are
There are
handouts.
copies up here.
Anybody, and I should have said that earlier, for anybody that's interested, we have all the spreadsheets and everything that we have here in front of us. For anybody to take home, look at. The 87 was $1.7548 versus the 2.0519. For your unleaded air.
Thank you, sir.
All right, mixtures. I think Todd, you had said at the last meeting that your preference would be to accept all.
Any and all.
I make a motion to accept any and all mixtures bids.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All bids are accepted. Okay. The 2025 HMA patching, bridge resurfacing, skip paving, wedge and level. We have received bids from O'Mara and Globe on that one, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Discussions on that one.
And we'll
So it looks like, at least from my general view, that Globe is substantially cheaper in about every single line item.
And I think there's a lot more of the personal rates, a lot more of that HMA wedge level per piece or in comparison to the type B 58 surface.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to accept Globe Asphalt for the 2025 annual HMA overlay and or wedging.
I will second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. All right, 2025 annual HMA overlay and or wedging. Looks like we had received bids from Paul Grove, Globe Asphalt, and Dave O'Mara.
Looks to me like Globe.
Is this for the bridge patching? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm
Bridge
blind.
resurfacing, skip paving, wedging level.
I just wanted to make
This
sure.
this is for the overlay and wedging.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on the wrong one.
Yeah, the last one
Yep.
was,
I'm
bridge
sorry.
resurfacing, skip paging.
That's why I asked, because I
Okay.
wanted to make sure I had my notes in the right spreadsheet here. Okay, yeah, so it looks like Globe is much cheaper on this one as well.
Yes.
I did, just in reviewing the documents, I did notice it looks like there was, in the bid, there was two different spots where it described that all mobilization and demobilization had to be included within these numbers. Is that correct? Okay, because I thought I reviewed and there was two different spots that addressed mobilization completely had to be configured into the price per ton, but then also demobilization, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure of that.
So nobody can be charging mobilization to or from. a job.
Not in the bid, not the way it's written. It's all gonna be included.
I make a motion to accept, Globe Asphalt for the 2025 annual H&A overlay.
One second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And so then we have the 2025-1 CCMG chip and seal.
Yeah, which,
And I was gonna have Chad address that issue.
Yeah,
So, Tim Orman brought this to our attention, in reviewing the 3 bids received. One of the bid requirements and statutory requirements is for a pre-qualification certificate from the bidders, from NDOT to proceed on these projects. In reviewing those, Tim's concerns with 2 of the bids was that the pre-certification, the pre-qualification certificate were insufficient to cover the amount bid. And then the third one, it appears there was a, I don't know, clerical error or timeline error, that the certificate we were presented with had been superseded by a later issued certificate, so we were not actually holding the current actual certificates. And so he gave a date for what the later in time one was, but nothing else about the specs of that. So I think what we have here is a situation where none of the 3 bids can be considered responsive to the request sent out. So the recommendation would be to reject all 3 and have it rebid. Get the bid specs back out to them and make sure they all fill it out completely and entirely.
and on top of that, I would like to go ahead and get a date set for the new rebid opening. It gives everybody an opportunity to reach out to NDOT and get a new certificate, pre-qualification certificate. But my suggestion would be bid opening for rebidding this would be May 19th.
and that's
That
that
get-
far out in order to give them time to get the proper.
Yeah, I think they got 30 days. I think in some circumstances, they can get it in 20 days, but most of the time it'd be in 30 days. So,
19, May 19th.
yes,
Go ahead.
I'm with SC Construction Material, and before we bid it, we called and asked our dollar amount. In the bid, it does not say a dollar amount. It says you have to be pre-qualified. So we called the auditor's office, my department did, and had a conversation with them, and they told us that, no, it doesn't, there's not a certain dollar amount you have to have. You just have to be pre-qualified. We got that TransUnion script, or we wouldn't have bid it. Plus, not only that, NDOT will require at least, it will probably take them 45 days for us to reapply to get that, because it takes such a long time to get it.
according to the research I did today, that if you request that document, they have to respond, they have to have that to you within 30 days. Some instances are 20 days.
When we got our NDOT pre-qualification, it took 6 months, and I had someone working on it 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Okay. Well, I'm just telling you what I seen with NDOT. Okay. But I think you were, Jamie, I think you were pre-qualified for up to $1 million.
Right.
Okay. And this particular bid is 2 million.
Right.
Okay.
But I called, and the bid does not say you have to be pre-qualified for the dollar amount. It just says you have to be pre-qualified. We called, or we wouldn't have bid it.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to rebid, well,
For clarity, you called who?
Call the auditor's office.
Yeah,
I'll
he
get the
did.
TransUnion script for you, and I'll get it back to you guys.
And we called a highway person.
Yes.
While you were on the phone.
Yep.
And we were told, I do remember all of that. So we called a highway person and asked for clarification because we didn't know the answer. And we were told what he's saying. I believe it was one of these, where we put cell phone up to the phone.
Chad, when you were looking at that, is this a statutory figure that is based off of the size of the project, or what is this figure that is?
Well, the pre-qualification, as I understand it, takes into account the host of information, their, I believe, financial soundness, their quality of work, past project background, and sets the bond or the pre-qualification based on several factors. I will say that outside of the statute, there is also a host of Indiana administrative codes that lay a lot of that out, and I did not get the chance to get through all those codes in this amount of time because administrative codes are so unwieldy to deal with. So I kind of have a collection of information as I was provided by Highway by looking through some of the statutes that were available. So that's kind of where I've taken my lead from.
So we had a total of 4 bids submitted for this one. And the recommendation is we reject all bids at this point and rebid.
I was prepared with 3 bid certificates
That was my question. Because I'm looking at 4 separate sets of numbers here. With Globe, SD Construction, Evergreen, and Pavement Solutions. Which ones do you recall?
I did not see anything from Globe in the materials I was provided.
And based on that information, are we still, knowing that there was a 4th that you didn't see, are we still in good standing to reject all bids and rebid?
You guys always have the discretion to reject all bids if you weren't satisfied.
Where does this put us, Todd, as far as, does this back us up? Is this time for timeline?
I don't think so.
So when we put out the new bids, are we gonna structure that differently to include what we
Yes.
expect to be and have it in writing so that?
Well, we thought we had that in there at the NDOT pre-qualification, but we did not tie a dollar amount to it.
Because maybe,
And NDOT even said there was no dollar amount needed to type to it. Isn't that what you said? They said.
They said there, for the county work, there's not a dollar amount typed into the contract saying you have to have a certain amount, then as long as you meet that contract, therefore, you're good to go. And when I called to even second that, this lady here, or whoever I talked to, they clarified that for us too, because we've spent money, and it cost us time, 6 months of all this, come here to give you guys a lower bid or a good bid to save you money. Now we're going through this process again. I don't think it's fair. It's not like I didn't try to reach out and get the answers when I went through the whole contract and my whole office went through the whole contract. Now everybody else knows all everybody's numbers. So, I mean, it's just unfair for us.
Well, and I guess I would note that the certificate of qualification they provided specifically says that within the amount and limitation of each classification listed below, which is $1 million. So their certificate says they're at $1 million.
That is for NDOT work. NDOT says that doesn't count for county work.
Where does the requirement come from? For the additional funds?
Sorry, I don't understand.
If $1 million's not enough, where does the additional requirement come from?
I believe it's additional documentation and the level of review and scrutiny that has to be provided in terms of CPA versus other agencies. Again, that's in the administrative code, but that's my base understanding.
I know you've had a short time to review. Are we confident that we are required for them to have pre-qualifications for our county work?
I mean, they were required to have pre-qualification by the bid spec. I will absolutely agree with him that the bid
within there. The pre-qualification certificate says that that's their limit, but there it's, I have not had the chance to run this down from every possible angle. Picked it up this morning, so that's as far as I've been able to get at the moment.
Hypothetically speaking, if we award this bid this evening to one of these companies, are we covered legally?
What's the bad thing that could happen?
I guess that's my
Yep.
question. We give to the lowest bidder, and now there's an issue, or do we have an issue, or legally, or what can go wrong here?
So it is unlawful to award a contract to any person other than the bidder previously qualified in compliance with this chapter. So it would be a void contract and award, and be back where we started.
Okay.
Is that lingo though for NDOT work or for all of it? I know I'm probably putting it down here, so maybe we just need to review further, but I have to delay the process another 2 weeks as well, just while we do more investigation, just to find out that,
And maybe that's the right thing to do.
but then we also delay the potential start.
Can I,
I
can
don't
I
think
say something else? We qualified for your bid document. You bid it. 100%. We did what you guys asked and a fair bid when we
Right.
bid it out. And
I'll
we
agree.
even went another step ahead.
I'll agree with that.
Okay.
But we have to make sure we're doing it.
I understand that.
I understand your viewpoint, and I would say that everything that we asked of you to do, you did.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I would agree with that statement. But we also legally, as commissioners, have to make sure that we're doing it properly, so we don't get in
Right.
a legal
There's
issue
repercussions
as
the other
well.
way too,
I get it.
So
but I do agree.
I-
with you.
I understand your viewpoint, and I'll agree with your viewpoint. We guys just have to do it legally, correct?
I did call some of the other county highways to find out how they did their bid documents. And probably 3 out of the 4 that I talked to do tie a number to it. Okay, if their bid's gonna be $2 million, and they use $2 million pre-qualification.
Did you intend to have that in the bid and forgot it? Or did you just,
We just thought that the MDOT pre-qualifications specified that, but if you go into community crossing grant and it pulls up the requirements, okay, forward to bid on it. Okay, and that's where Tim got this information, and I looked at as well, for the pre-qualification documents.
I'm gonna defer to you, Chad. Because I want it done legally correct.
Well, it seems if we awarded it, it's null and void, so then that pretty much.
Possibly, but not necessarily. Possibly, but not. Why don't
What
we-
is
why don't
what
we-
is the
why-
thought process of waiting until our
Well,
next
why
meeting?
don't we do this? Let's set this one back for a time to give Chad time to look at this. We'll come back and address this here in a little bit in this meeting. So that way he has some more time to look at it tonight on what specific these sections are and what they apply to. And we can circle
Okay.
back to this one this evening. And then we know where we are instead of just pushing it out another 2 weeks.
Okay.
But we'll come back to that.
Anything else for me?
We're still working on bids. Just a lot more, don't we?
No.
Or all of these,
That's it.
these are all the same. Is
2025-1 was the last one.
that the last one?
Yeah. The other ones are individual breakouts.
Yes, that was,
Oh, okay. I
That
got
was-
you. My bad. Thank you.
yeah, that had everything on my notes there. All right. Next up, Doug Westerfeld, area plan.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Did you receive the email that I sent out on the fines and fees? Okay. So this is the first reading for the establishing the Area Plan Commission Fines Fund. This is to establish a separate and distinct fund for the Decatur County Revitalization Project, for non-reverting fund for the Area Plan Commission fines and fees. So this is the first reading. This, he goes back to the Decatur County Revitalization and will allow the Area Plan Commission to collect the fines, when we start to, go out and assess the properties and dole out those fines.
And my assumption is you had Chad look this over and make sure everything was on the up and up.
Fines and fees, I wrote it.
Yeah, so we good?
Do you want to read that? Or do you want me to read that?
Oh, I can do it. An ordinance establishing the Area Plan Commission fund, whereas Indiana Code, Chapter 36-1-3 permits any county in the state of Indiana to exercise any power or to perform any function necessary to the public interest in the context of its governmental or internal affairs, which is not prohibited by the Constitution of the United States or the state of Indiana, or denied or preempted by any law, or is not expressly granted by any other law or another government entity. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Decatur County, Indiana is the county executive and legislative body and is by law authorized to adopt ordinances and resolutions for the administration of this governmental affair. Now therefore be it ordered, established, and ordained by the Board of Commissioners County of Decatur, Indiana as follows. Number one, fund establishment. There is hereby established a separate and distinct fund for the Decatur County Revitalization Project to be named and identified as a perpetual non-reverting fund for Area Plan Commission fines and fees number 4201. 2, funding source. The funds shall be funded by payment of fines and or fees ordered by violation of the Decatur County ordinance. 3, fiscal administration. The Decatur County Treasurer shall serve as the custodian, and the Decatur County Auditor shall serve as the auditing agent for the fund and is hereby authorized to oversee the administration of the fund. 4, expenditures. Expenditures from the fund are subject to approval of claims by the Board of Commissioners, but need not be appropriated by the County Council. Expenditures from the fund are to be used for the administration, operation, enforcement, including the expenditure of legal fees and fees related to enforcement, improvement, and or maintenance of the Decatur County Revitalization Project. 5, non-reverting fund. Any and all monies in the fund at the end of the calendar year shall not revert to another fund but shall remain in said fund as a separate non-reverting fund. 6, effective date. The ordinance shall take effect immediately upon the date of passage by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Decatur. And when this thereof, Board of Commissioners of the County of Decatur, Indiana, has adopted this ordinance.
So we need a first reading on this, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then we can amend this after the first reading if need be, or this is, how does that work?
I would believe so, but I would ask Chad if that's accurate.
Sorry, I'm still running down the other.
I'm sorry, we're just asking about, after this first reading, if there's any changes we need to do, it's still, I don't see any changes, I think it reads fine.
Yeah, you can move for amendments, bring it back.
Alright.
If necessary, but otherwise pass first reading, set it for second.
I'll make a motion to pass first reading on this ordinance establishing an area plan commission fines fund.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. We'll set it for second reading at the next meeting.
Okay, so the next thing I have are 3 properties that were approved through the Area Plan Commission. These were all last year that need to be signed by the commissioners. The first one is ordinance number 2024-13. It's to rezone 2 acres from A1 to A2 for Ricky and Virginia Fords.
It looks like All who were present voted in favor of the petition. There were 2 absent. There were no dissenting votes on this petition. I would entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
The second petition was number 2024-15. It was to have 2 lots, approximately 2.99 acres, rezoned from A1 to A2. All members are present and all members voted yea.
Looks like every member of the APC was present. No dissenting votes. Can I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And those opposed? Motion carries.
Second, or the third is petition 2024-17. It's to have 3.907 acres rezoned from A1 to A2 for the Westport Wesleyan Church.
Looks like we had 1 absent, all present, voted in favor, no dissenting.
I would make a motion to accept that.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have.
I have one other thing for you. Okay. You're done. I get a lot of questions and I don't know if you can provide us with any kind of an update. Where are we at with the solar petition? I keep getting asked questions on why it keeps getting bumped out and where we're at in that process, and any
Yeah.
information that you have that you can provide would be appreciated.
So what we know right now is we're still collecting agreements from Cobia, whether it's roadway agreements or economic development agreements. We haven't received any of those agreements as of yet. So until we receive those agreements and can review those, then we would feel more comfortable with it going in front of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So at this point, I know last year, the commissioners had not looked at a road use agreement. At this point, you still don't have one that has been proposed from.
They're in the process of preparing it. We were supposed to have it by the end of this month, or I'm sorry, by the end of March or the 1st of April. So I talked with Tim Ortman yesterday and we should have it anytime. Should have all of it anytime.
I know from project that had petitioned up on the north end of town, there was a road use agreement that was basically, if this gets passed, here are their obligations before, during, and after, which would include any decommissioning time period as well. That protects the county's assets with the roadways and everything, so we definitely want that.
Important piece of the puzzle.
Very much so. So those are the 2 big things.
Yeah, and also drainage agreements. I think we're requiring them to do a little bit more engineering work, and I know to them. So I think they have to decide, how much they want to, spend to provide the engineering, especially for the drainage. they've got to make a decision. It's my understanding they're going to move forward with getting those put together, but.
You just need more documentation to.
Right.
None of that was, and no agreements were decided on or presented with RWE, and all these agreements have nothing to do with the BZA decision.
We had, I agree with you on that last portion. We had looked at the road use agreement.
But BZA has nothing to do with those agreements, has no influence on their decision.
Right.
So I'm a little concerned with the delay of waiting on it because BZA it's not part of their process, their voting process, their decision process. Has nothing to do with those agreements. That's outside their hold there. So we are past 60 days since the petition was first heard.
That was going to be my next question is what deadline are we legally looking at here?
Rule of procedures were 60 days past the initial presentation.
We're looking at June. I mean, it's not going to be May, but I would say June would be the soonest. But it's my understanding that these are items that we are requesting. So I'm not sure about the rules of the 60, since we're the ones that's requesting them. I'm not sure how that comes into play.
We need to re-notify all the adjoining property owners too, due to the length of the delay.
That would be a question for Missy. Or
It's in the rules of procedure.
Anything else to?
Nope.
I appreciate the info. I do have one more question.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to circle back on that. And this may be more than likely, this is going to be something to pass on to Missy. Is there, as far as the timing goes, instead of leaving it to the leisure of Cobia to set a date and say this is the date, to set an actual deadline?
Okay.
So that this thing gets decided instead of continuing to languish and do everything that it's doing when it's just continuously being pushed out time and time again. Can we say, this is your deadline, this is the hearing, here you go?
Yeah, I'll have to discuss that with Missy. Yep.
I appreciate it. I swear that time is gone.
Okay.
One more.
All right, Aaron Thomas, Lifetime Resources.
Hello. So I'm Erin Thomas, Executive Director at Lifetime Resources. We are actually an area agency on aging, and we provide a whole host of services that are basically aimed at helping people maintain their independence in their homes. However, our core 5 services, or counties, that we serve are southeast of here. The only service that extends into Decatur County is Catch a Ride. We're actually in our 21st year with Catch a Ride, but something new that NDOT started requiring last year was for the commissioners to designate us as the Section 5311 provider in your area. Every year we have to submit a grant application, and it's a competitive process, but they want to make sure, obviously, that the counties are supportive of us being in operation there. So you signed one of these last year. It does look a little bit different from last year because starting in 2026, NDOT will not be requiring us to utilize a pass-through agency. So last year you signed to say that Historic Hoosier Hills would be the applicant and we would be the operator. And this year it's just, there's not that third party involved. So it looks just a little bit different. And for that reason, so we're just asking for your blessing to be the designated provider in 2026, and that'll be part of our application process. And I'm also sorry for bringing the bosses. That was like plain C. So
how many people do you guys serve?
So in 2024, we provided just under 8,000 trips. It was 7,800 some odd to 100 and some odd individuals. I'm sorry, I don't have that number to the top of my head, but so it's actually public transportation. It's available to anyone for any purpose. But we do a lot of work here specifically in connection with DSI for individuals with disabilities, taking them either to and from the workshop there or to different employment opportunities throughout the county. or here in Greensburg. And, we also are if anyone has any sort of insurance that will pay for non-emergent medical transportation, whether that be through Medicaid, Medicare, managed care, we have contracts with all of those brokers as well. And we take reservations up to 30 days in advance. I hear a lot of times that people say, oh, I don't need to have to, I have to schedule a week in advance. You don't have to. It's just that we take reservations up to 30 days in advance. So I'm constantly kind of, trying to say, help me, help you. If you have to get somewhere really specific, say you have a doctor's appointment or something like that, particularly if you live out in the county. Because every day looks different for us. I know a lot of people tend to think of, public transportation, you think of a route and you're going to get on a bus at a certain point in time. And that's just not how it is. It's more, every day is different. It's called demand response. It's more like a taxi. We'll pick you up right at home, take you right to where we're going. It's sort of door-to-door service. All of our drivers are highly trained. They do passenger assistance, pre-trip inspection, defensive driving, first aid, CPR. The list is on. So it's a very highly regulated program as well. So we collect a lot of data and things. So happy to answer any other questions. Other than that, just looking for that designation.
Can you make a motion on that? I'll so move the motion to accept
I'll second.
resolution.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. Kids were great.
Thank you so much. Again, sorry. Really was
Not at all.
not in the plans for today. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Kim Carpenter, Power of the Pass.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. Maybe two of you probably don't know me, but I am the coordinator for the Greensburg Power of the Pass, which means I coordinate food vendors, campers, and whatever else they come in. So last year we had a food vendor that did alcohol service within the community building, and I know that's coming down. So my world looks a little bit different as far as what we're doing out there until I figure out what's going on. But I have, last year it was the beach, and they have declined for doing it this year. Although St. Paul Tavern would like to take the opportunity, and it will look a little bit different than what it did last year. So what St. Paul Tavern and Lou and Matt runs the concession stand. Matt was a vendor with us last year with the St. Paul Tavern vendor. He wants to bring in, instead of doing the beer wagon, I would have chosen to do canned beer instead, which will be barricaded off. We'll put picnic tables within that spot, and they will be carded at the window when they pick up their order and stuff. So what I am asking is just to get approval from the commissioners to continue to do an alcohol vendor for this year, but it'll look a little bit different than it did last year. I
So
don't know.
was last year the first year you did that?
Last year was the first year.
How did that go? Did you feel like it went well?
I felt that it went well. Being within the building, I kind of asked Lou to make it 21 and over, just because I felt like being our first year, I wanted to make sure I covered anything that was going to happen, and I wanted to be completely safe on all hands.
Right.
Being open air, and we'll barricade it off and put picnic tables in there. I guess the problem from last year was that we noticed, with it being 21 and over, the average family couldn't go sit at a picnic table while, their parents or whatever enjoyed an alcoholic beverage. So we're thinking picnic tables, open air, and then a family could sit there and enjoy that. Where I wanted to keep the building pretty solid to 21 and over, because I just wanted to be able to not have that opportunity for somebody underage to go in.
So use a wristband or something for identification that you're
I
over
think-
21 and you're eligible to purchase alcohol.
But I was going to do the only people that can purchase, they're gonna have to show their ID every time they do a purchase. And they're gonna have to sit in this barricaded area at one of his picnic tables in order to do that while they, he has the tenderloins and stuff, so that they can enjoy a meal at the same time. But it'll be in the confines of fenced off area.
Okay. No alcohol outside of that.
No.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we don't have a rowdy crowd.
Yeah. Well, those answers my questions.
Yeah.
Do you have a desired location at this point?
My desired location will be, here's what I foresee, because this is what I've heard, that community building is coming down. And that we're gonna put that, somebody's going to put an awning back over that. That's what I heard. No,
Not anymore.
not anymore. Okay.
So the update on the building and everything, the new building is going to have parking on the west side, the far western side of it, and then the northwest corner of the building. And so there has to be enough room for parking spots in the driveway there.
Okay.
So then the building is going to proceed east. It runs east and west,
Yeah.
where it gets basically halfway down the Optimus current building.
Okay.
And so all of that area will be under construction.
Okay. So from where the community building is now to where the Optimus are.
It is, yes,
Okay.
it is safe to assume. So you have that drive off of 200
Mhm.
just south of the community building.
Yeah.
Everything from 200 north of that drive towards
Okay.
the livestock pavilion will be,
All the way to the livestock building.
Not quite.
Not quite.
it'll be close
Okay.
because of just construction
Okay.
requirements.
So
and
then,
equipment.
Big area to work around.
yeah, okay. So then none of that area is going to be usable.
More than likely not.
Okay. So I still have room, what I call food alley. I don't know if either of you gentlemen have been to the Power of the House.
Mhm.
Okay, so what I call food alley starts at the grandstand with Chicken Inn, comes all the way down, end at the Optimus Club usually. So there is some room in there to pocket him in there. I guess my other question would be, I'm losing at least 350 amps and I'm losing a 30 amp in that area. Where would those be located at?
We're working on that.
Okay.
So there's a meeting next week with REMC.
Okay.
And the general contractor out at the fairgrounds to discuss all of the electrical
Okay.
upgrades, because all of the poles are coming down, all the electrical is being buried, the internet lines are going to be buried. Speaker lines for the fairgrounds are going to be buried.
Okay.
So in some fashion, all of the electrical is underground. The poles, whether they stay in positions and they're just cut off at the top so that you only have a little bit exposed for an outlet.
Okay.
That part hasn't been determined yet. But yes, electrical is,
So could I go to that meeting?
I imagine you probably could.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if the pole out right in front of the commercial building, will that pole come out?
I think it will.
I think everything.
I think all of the poles.
Okay.
I mean, there will have to be some kind of, and we were discussing this, Danny, Bill,
Yeah.
and I were out at the fairgrounds, and I think Kenny Hoot was out there too. That there will have to still be some kind of post.
Yeah.
Whether it's a pole that you just cut off or something, there still has to be some
Yeah.
posts out there so that you have those kinds of outlets for vendors
Yeah.
around the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly
Okay.
what that's going to look like. Where
That's this Wednesday from 10 to
Yep.
11.
10 to 11 at the fairground, like, as in like 2 days from now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
So are you planning to serve out of coolers or troughs, or are you planning on refrigeration?
He's going to do refrigeration with inside his food vendor trailer. So they won't be out anywhere. They will be confined inside of his trailer.
I got the same concerns you do for the electric because.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the fair's gonna be we're
Yes,
gonna need all of the same way you.
yes, I know.
We have to find somewhere for the pork produce too.
Yes, that's my concern too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my concern too. So, okay, I'm currently staying in Noblesville this week while my daughter's on vacation, but I guess I'll drive back down on Wednesday.
Power of the Past has insurance that
Yes.
reflects the alcohol,
We took out extra insurance last year that reflects the alcohol, and we'll continue that.
and the vendor's insurance, the tavern, their insurance covers this kind of mobile
Yes.
beer sales.
Yes,
as well.
he already has the liquor license, so it's easy enough for us or for me to bring in a vendor who already has that liquor license and an alcoholic business. Then I don't have to apply for alcohol.
And do you have any law enforcement personnel from the sheriff's department?
Usually the sheriff's department they have a booth there. Usually, I put them last year, props from my alcohol vendor.
That's a great idea.
Great organization.
I just wanted to make sure that we were.
But then if you're gonna take all that area, I'm gonna have to figure out where to put my alcohol vendor and the sheriff's department.
Put them together.
There you go.
Let them sell it.
Okay, well,
I-
2 years ago, they got a little irritated with me, or they joked with me, because I put a donut vendor next to it.
We need to make a motion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say something. I mean, this is, last year, I think it was great. I mean, I went out there and, I mean, it's one more thing to make a draw for events that we have out there. I mean, our goal here is to have the fairgrounds used, and if it's one more thing that makes an event that's out there popular and we can support that success, I think it's been.
In a responsible manner is great.
I'm
will
trying to
say-
cover all the bases. I researched it to death last
I
year.
will say too, Kim and her crew do an amazing job. I was out there a couple nights. They do a great job with that.
It's a well-oiled machine.
So fun.
I'm sure most of them are.
I would make a motion to approve.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you.
Carries. Okay, thank you, Kim. I
Uh-huh.
appreciate it. All right, up next, we have the Ball Diamond change order for the back four. I forwarded these to you guys. I think you've had an opportunity to take a look at them. You guys have any questions? I know we discussed this in the past about doing the back four.
Yes.
Yeah, the additional price tag there, Rob, am I correct? I'm reading the right number here, the 676,428. Just make sure that I was reading the right one. All numbers over here. Any questions or anything, guys?
I do not have a questions.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
So moved.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
I like how you felt like the meeting was going long enough that we didn't need to ask Rob to come.
I do enjoy your updates.
I do as well.
I have plenty if you want more. Like, it's,
Save that for another meeting.
it is just phenomenal. It really is. I could go on all day.
I would like to say, we knew you could, but I would like to say that I saw on Facebook the other day that one of our local schools had actually utilized one of the fields already for practice.
Right.
So I mean, it's the positive impact, I think, is already.
I do have one question.
Sure.
We had all this rain the last 3 or 4 days. How does the field, how did it take the water and how did it?
The turf was ready to play minutes out. I mean, I was out working in it on Saturday too. I was going, we're driving new sleeves in where we did pitching areas for tournaments and just like easy use for our mounds or our pitching rubber mats to work and everything.
Mhm.
And drain's great. We tried to mow, our maintenance guys tried to mow this afternoon, got probably, I don't know, probably over 3/4 of total mowing done on those 4 diamonds. And it's just, as you get further out, it's a little wet, so I mean, shoot, we had almost 10 inches of rain, right, or somewhere around there, you think about it. So I would say by tomorrow or Wednesday, they'll be able to mow it all. I mean, I feel like the field's actually probably maybe even drain a little bit better than what they did before,
Okay, great.
right, even in the outfield there. So.
I wanted to see that myself. I went out while he was performing that work and in the middle of the rain and other than it raining on you, you can't tell it's rained there.
Yeah, it was easy to work with, easy to work on. And it's definitely just, and like you said, this kid's faces, I mean, I've seen quite a few kids out there, teams out there practicing so far already, and I love it. Can't
Fantastic.
convince me any different. They're gonna love playing on it. Watching the balls go off it through every time there's a hit. Pretty neat. I suggest everybody get out and check it out if they can. Open house Friday at 2 o'clock, or ribbon cutting.
Ribbon cutting this Friday,
Ribbon
2
cutting
o'clock.
Friday at 2 p.m., yeah.
Right.
I think you guys were notified. And
Good word.
Tournament this weekend.
first tournament is this weekend. They tried to move one to us last weekend because of the rain. The one in Shelbyville, they wanted to bring here was 60 sports tournament. And it was canceling everything, and Teresa was kind of freaking out a little bit too. So we didn't do that, obviously, but they upped the amount of the numbers this weekend. So they will play Friday starting at, I think, games of 5, 6, and 7. They'll start again at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning.
The ribbon cutting, is there a certain diamond we're to go to?
Diamond 1 is where Dawn is planning on doing that right now. So Chamber is involved. She's inviting me. She's inviting everybody. Danny, Bill, did you guys get invites or no?
No.
I want you to know everybody get the invites to you on council.
Thank you.
Just so you guys know, we'll have to make an addition to the edit plan to cover some of that. And then, while I'm talking about edit, the fundraising committee for the Ready 2.0 project, is going to need to pay for like some flyers and handouts during the fundraising campaign for that project. We had a meeting last, Thursday evening, and so I think the best way to pay for that is going to just be to make a line and edit for those types of promotional materials so that we can get things printed out, do handouts when
For
folks.
some reason, I thought we had a budget for that.
So there was I think the part of the early on discussion was there's an additional 300,000 that's over at the foundation right now. And so Danny and I had talked about which one's easier. Is it going to be easier to just draw it out of edit or out of the foundation? I think at the end of the day, it'll be easier procedurally just to draw it out of edit. And the 300,000 that is at the foundation will still be used for this project.
Yes.
So you're using a nickel in this hand or you're using a nickel in this hand. But I think just procedurally it would be a little bit easier. So I can give Chad just one more thing to do. I'll email you, but you don't have to write it down. But just FYI, because we need to cover both of those
Danny?
bases.
Something else, you might want to transfer that 160 from ARPA over there if you can.
We cannot transfer any money out of our,
You just have to be paid out of there.
it just has to be paid.
Okay, so it can't be paid to the,
This was 160,000 to what? The,
Fairgrounds.
it's for the
Yes.
fairground.
yes,
Yeah, it was,
Has to be,
no,
plugged
it just
for
has
that.
to be paid out of there. We can't
Okay.
really transfer.
You got to what, 27 to spend it,
End of 26.
into 20.
All right, moving on then, the Veterans Service Rep. We did interviews uh, two Fridays ago now. We had 3 applicants come in that we did interviews with. Not going into any names or anything. You guys have any thoughts, recommendations going first candidate, second
I
candidate?
think we had three good applicants. In my opinion, applicant number 1 stood out, and I think we would agree with that statement. So I would make a motion to, I'm sorry if you guys had any more
No, I
discussion, but he was fantastic. The applicant number 1.
I agree. I think that he fills this position to a T. His passion for working with other veterans, helping other veterans through the VA process and the services that can be provided by the VA for veterans. I think that candidate's phenomenal.
Agreed.
I missed the first interview, however, was there for the rest and reviewed the notes and I agree with it.
Brian, you had done a swinging blind. I think
I did. And I backed it. I said, but I would make a motion to accept applicant number 1 for this veterans rep position.
I'll second that one. I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Patty, do you want to call them or do you want me to call them?
Rules in motion on that.
I had fair committee appointment put on. There was a vacancy that came up in the fair committee. The bylaws require a selection committee of one member from the council, one from extension, and one from the commissioners. I was the commissioner rep. I talked with Danny from the council. He's the commissioner appointed to be on the fair committee. And I had talked to Christopher Fogel at extension about potential candidates, and we had received a confirmation that David Vandenberg was willing to do it. And so I just need that final step here that you guys are in agreement and willing to appoint him.
I would make a motion, we accept Ed Vandenberg as the appointment for the fair committee.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Put a spanky in there, the one who he is.
AKA,
Trying to be formal there.
It won't make any difference. Nobody really is.
That's probably true. All right, let me find up next. There is a contract for the rodeo that will take place during the fair. It is with King Brothers Rodeo. And so we just need to sign this contract for the fair. It was, Bill, did you get this or did Garrett?
Garrett did.
Okay. And so they will be at the fair on July 15, 2025.
have we used them before, Bill?
Yes, 2 years ago. We used
Satisfied
somebody
with
else,
their-
yes.
Good.
It
For the
was,
money,
it was a smaller show than what we had last year, but I think better money to event ratio as far as what we had last year to 2 years ago.
This is just bulls and barrels.
I make a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right. Up next, we have the Fairgrounds BOT agreement. This was advertised. Patty, do you remember which day the advertisement went out? I can probably pull that up here. Give me 1 second, because I know you responded to my email.
You emailed us on the 25th.
Is that what it was? Yes.
That's when you emailed us on the 25th. Chad, Patty, and Gabe and I.
Okay, so the 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So it was advertised on March 25th, and you guys have had an opportunity to look through them,
I did.
all of the attached documentation.
Mm-hmm.
Any discussion?
I don't see anything in here egregious. Everything looks good to me.
I agree.
I know that Chad had an opportunity to review it as well. Christy, do you have a number?
2025-.
And just, I guess, for informational purposes, this is the build, operate, transfer agreement for the Fairgrounds Ready 2.0 project. Greg Martz was previously selected along with Scott Barnes construction for that project. Greg was part of the bid that Scott Barnes construction had submitted, and Greg Martz is going to be the BOT for the project. Just information there.
Who's the BOT?
Greg Martz, it's GM Development is the company. Any other discussion?
No move on this, just information.
No, that part was information. We need to officially vote on it.
I would make a motion to accept And as the,
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries. Need your signature. That one just has one spot, but I'm sure you can just sign the one. Since Greg had not signed that one, this was the attachment with his signature. Just all right, up next, we have the third pay application for the YMCA project. Just for folks that maybe haven't heard about it, the YMCA had applied for an Okra grant through the state of Indiana to repair their roof. You've driven by, you've seen the construction going on there. They had applied for that last year. The process requires that they have some kind of sponsor, and that is the county. We don't have any actual county funds going into the project. They had done a fundraising campaign, and then they had the matching dollars from their fundraising campaign to match the award that was from Okra. And so they were very lucky to get that money. And the county acts as a pass-through for all the construction costs for it. So while we have to approve it, the money just flows in from Okra and then straight out. So we aren't actually paying any county money. I think that was a question that had come up. But so we have the third pay app here. Looks like it's in the amount of $25,463.21. Total completed on the project is $517,491.40. The original contract sum was $1,276,900. So we have a motion to approve pay app number 3 for the YMCA Okra grant.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. But then, okay, Brian Robbins, EDC housing study.
I think I sent you a copy of the quote provided by Thomas McMillan Associates. This is something that the EDC is heading up. We haven't had one in the last 6 years, I believe. Obviously, a lot has happened since then, and in light of the not only some of the work in housing and the need for housing that we have, but also the comprehensive plan that Decatur County is taking on, the updating to that plan. We thought it was a prime time to conduct a Decatur County housing market study and needs assessment. Payment for this will be split between the city, which we have a commitment from the city RDC, which we also have a commitment from them. Hopefully the county commissioners and the RDC, the county RDC, which canceled their meeting last month, but I've had good conversations so far. and we'll be seeking to talk to them next week. Split it evenly against all 4 entities, and with the EDC taking care of any overages.
What exactly is the housing study and how would it benefit us going forward?
Essentially, it'll take a look, and if you look in there, it'll have a lot of data analysis. It'll be interviewing focus groups, not only taking a look at what types of housing, how much, the quantity, but also the quality, the type of housing, the multifamily, the workforce housing, income housing, everything from townhouses to, level of housing, that kind of thing, as far as price point and whatnot. And they'll take a look at, just looking at census bureaus and the Ezra stats, but also kind of going on the ground and talking to people to see actually what is desirable here, what we'd like to see. That's kind of where the comprehensive plan will come in, because that'll help us kind of guide, what we want to look at from a zoning and from a aspect. And this is not going to designate that, but this is going to be important information to take into account when we look at those. And then from there, we hope the final product will be something that we can slide across the table in front of developers when they do want to come visit and say, here, we believe this is what we need, and here's the data to back it up.
Encompassed in that report, would it be looking at, it is countywide, correct?
Correct.
So locations, looking at prime locations,
We could, that could be something that could be considered. This is going to be a conversation, and I know with the city, when they did their UDO, they kind of focused in on areas that were best used for residential. They did also commercial and industrial. And that's something that the comprehensive plan will focus in on. But if it does come out that people want to see more mixed use of housing, such as, like townhouses or even a senior independent living neighbor facility or something like that, that would be something that we take placement in the county as a whole. We're also covering Westport and St. Paul and some points.
those are the things, those are the things I think about, right?
Yeah.
Those areas, correct.
So we think it's a great time to start to do the study as we kind of move forward and with the comprehensive plan and whatnot. And it's nice to kind of have that city-county partnership as well as the redevelopment commissions, with hopefully on the RDC coming on board, because it is something that from the industries that I talk to, one of the hindrances to the labor force in our community is lack of housing. So we want to address this, and this just kind of bolsters our argument for those mid-sized, even large-scale developers, because we have a tremendous amount of custom home builders. We can help track them with all that.
I see an amount here. Is this per 39,000? Is that per entity or is that?
No, it's total.
So split that 4 ways. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
So 7,800 each. Is that right?
Are we even asking for just a square 10,000? Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
Roughly 4.
Yeah. Look at that.
Looking at possible funding avenues, we can use plans and implementations for the commissioners out of our budget. We have 75,000 in there right now. So far this year, we have an expenditure, I'm sorry, so 75,000 was what we had started with for appropriated funds. We spent $1,645 of it so far this year. The only additional funds that I see coming out right now is if the State Road 3 safety study, if that bill comes in soon, sometime in this year. But that was approximately 35,000. So we would have the funds to cover this,
Historically, what if we use that account for?
things like this.
And if we use that throughout the year, I mean,
Yeah, on things like this, or if we run out, we can go and talk to the council about getting an additional.
Okay.
But we haven't done that.
My suggestion.
Yeah.
That Bill Decatur County Fund seems to me like it fits it.
We can use that out of
I mean,
it.
you've got 80,000 left there. Bill Decatur County Fund, this is where,
You had
this is
approved,
where it missed.
you
you
approved
approved
up to
200,000.
up to 200,000 for the fall diamonds. I think we have
You
276.
got 80 left or something like
I think we have
76.
76,000.
To me, that's where this fits.
That's fine. We can use
That's
Decatur
my
County
opinion.
as well.
Okay, but
All right,
I'd make a motion to,
up to 10,000. Up to $10,000 to be paid out of.
9,900.
To clarify your motion, up to 10,000 to be paid out of Decatur County and. Is that the motion? Yes. Excellent.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
One quick thing, we did receive a destination development grant, Storm Team did, for, if you remember the photography, plaques, so that.
We didn't get that.
You did, yeah, you did, I didn't know if somebody didn't invite you. We'll be starting on those.
did you get proofs for the?
Yes, I just got them here and I'll email them to you guys first thing in the morning. They're kind of like a, almost like a shield kind of thing. Nothing too obtrusive or anything like that.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, use of facilities for the train visit on June 28th, 2025.
Good evening, I'm Ryan Maddox, the Decatur County Visitors Commission. Before Erica comes up to talk about her topic, I would just like to formally introduce her as our new executive director of the Decatur County Tourism. And I'm very excited for her to get there, so.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm here to request the use of the bathroom facilities at the courthouse. There's a train visit coming from the Cincinnati Railway, Scenic Railway. And they will be here on June 28th. We would need the bathrooms from about 11:30 or so till about 3 o'clock. I know they have like a hard leave. They need to be out of here about 3 o'clock. So they'll be coming from Lebanon, Ohio, on a train, and they come here and they shop and they eat at the restaurants. I think it's their third, maybe fourth visit for the years that we've had from them. It's up to 300 people will be on the train. So they'll bring, people spending money, helping with tourism. We don't really have good bathroom facilities in the downtown, so it's nice to have the courthouse open. I think Brian Robbins is going to man the bathroom for us. So,
Wow.
yeah. He did a really good job.
Wash your hands. That's all.
Yeah. He did a great job last time. So, yeah.
The only question I have, do they still pass the security?
That's a good, it'd be up to you guys on how they would come in. How did they do it last time, Brian?
I was told they did 2 years.
They did.
They did.
You passed everybody down.
I, just for security purposes, I personally am not comfortable with that amount of people just coming in through a side door or
Oh.
something, but
I don't think it'll be like 300, but how many did you have last time? You know?
25 maybe.
And I think that way we can keep track of the number of people that come in to make sure the same number of people leave.
right.
And I'm working on insurance with Patty, or I've been talking to Patty about right,
Yeah, I see.
Kevin. Okay, cool. Yeah.
What day is that?
June 28th.
As long as they're going through security, I'm good with it. So I would make a motion to approve the use of facilities on June 28th, 2025.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion carries.
Will you want me to staff that?
We'll need somebody in there.
That's
At the
overtime,
front
by the
desk,
way.
If you want to be on bathroom duty.
You get Brian an honorary deputy. too.
I still don't know.
All right, excuse me, let's, circle back to CCMG 2025 chip and seal. Chad, what say you?
All right, so the pre-qualification certificate statute that we were discussing the first time around is Indiana Code 823. And that is, as stated, the NDOT statute, which was then adopted and enforced through the Public Works statutes found at 5/16/13 and as applicable to public works by a public agency, which under a separate definition in a different section of the code includes units, which is a county government. So all of that is a long circle to lead us right back to where we started, which is that section still applies to this project. Statement on the certificate stands, so I believe we were right where we started the first time, which is then you referred to 36-112 for 8, that you guys shall either award the public work contract to the lowest responsible bidder or reject all bids submitted.
So,
Or not comfortable with the bids as presented, then you may, in your own discretion, reject all bids.
so despite not having that amount specified, it's still the requirement to cover that.
That is my reading of the certificate of position.
So if, again, should we decided to, if we were to accept the lowest responsible bidder, then is that,
And that's where you get into the situation where that one statute provides that if you accept a bid from a non-qualified certificate, then it is unlawful. So
So on last year's bid, the same companies bid the same project on July the 1st. You guys made an award. It says all paper from all bids were proper and ordered. So the same companies bid it this year and the paperwork wasn't in order, but last year it was in order.
for clarity, two of us weren't here last year.
Okay. But I got the minutes from last year's meeting, and that was not brought up or an issue. We didn't bid it last year. This year we bid it, and now it's brought up and it's an issue. My recommendation would be to the board would make 2 separate contracts, and then you would be under his threshold that he's talking about.
Can it be broken out like that? And that's not how
Not
it's
that's how
bid.
if that's not how it was bid, no, then everybody would have the same opportunity to bid it out as 2 separate contracts. You can't change the specs now.
But if it was over last year, it was over the $1 million, then they awarded it without having that
And
specified over $1 million in the contract.
And what we don't have is the bid specs, the bid documents, the certifications from last year. None of that is relevant to what you guys are doing here today because none of the information is presented or known or the same or different. What happened last year happened last year. And now an issue has been presented to you guys that you have to decide.
But even if, no matter the decision that was made, it doesn't reflect the one that we have to make today.
I mean, if I could just make one comment. I mean, I'm with Terry Asphalt Materials, and we supplied all the material for last year's job, and I understand it went really well. We've supplied material to most of these contractors over the years. We've been supplying material to SC for well over 10, maybe longer years. And there has never been a contract that I know of that somebody had to come back on. If there was an issue, we took care of it immediately.
I mean, ultimately, it's very unfortunate. I mean, I'm in sales, so I know your situation,
Mhm.
especially where you put numbers on paper and then, get to go back on it. So I truly do feel for you on that part. But in looking at this, I mean, even if we were to accept it, it's considered null and void. So even if we did accept it, it's null and void. So it immediately, we could accept it, but then it has to go away because we're not allowed to accept bid if the certificates are not there and up to date and to the amount specified based upon NDOT, which
Now, it doesn't say that, and NDOT doesn't say that. I haven't spoken to NDOT, I have no idea what NDOT says, I can read you the statutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
which is simply all we're basing our information off of is the statutes.
Right, but when you guys bid your documents all out, it says it in there, this must be NDOT requalified. It doesn't give you a dollar amount, so we complied to that. And we gave our numbers out. Now, therefore, if you rejected all the bids, our numbers are out there. That's unfair to us. Plus, if we have to do what they call a full financial review, my office tells me 3 months, $20,000 in order to get that clarification, to get that number from $1 million, which is their short term, to the long term, which gets you a full financial audit of your corporation, and that takes a long time and process.
And they actually called NDOT, and NDOT stated, you know, that now it wasn't required for county.
My personal suggestion is gonna be me, but not to reject all bids tonight, but to dig into this further and address.
You can kick it over to the next meeting, further investigation, or, you know, if you're not making any action on the bids, you're not
I don't want to make.
voting
a
that
decision
section at
tonight,
all.
right?
I feel for you guys,
I do.
but I want to do it legally. That is my concern. We have to do this correctly. So
Clarification.
I would agree with Gabe is to kick this down to the next meeting.
2
and
weeks will
Still
be
have these
accurate.
bids
Last
viable.
year, I know some of you wasn't here, but last year you had the same whole process, same bid documents, the same everything, but that wasn't an issue or brought up. This year it was brought up. Why is it brought up?
That I can't tell you why.
I
it's been brought
I
up.
can tell you, because I was here last year,
Mhm.
is that we had a more detailed review of the bid documents and everything that was submitted. That's the difference. And this was one of the issues in looking through the statutes that popped up after we had talked with the highway department guys and we talked with our attorney. It was one of the issues that popped up coming into tonight. I want to echo what both of them say about the inconvenience and the trouble that this is causing. You guys did do great work last year. I mean, resounding, and I heard good things about what had happened. So I do apologize for the inconvenience. My concern, if we pass a null and void contract, we can't hold you accountable and you can't hold us accountable. So. Reset it for the
21st.
Yeah.
April 21st.
Yeah, let us do our due diligence. I mean, again, we don't want to make a wrong decision. either way. So let us do our due diligence and we'll get back to, I mean, in 2 weeks, we'll address it again.
Okay, somebody can contact us.
We will do this on the April 21st meeting,
Okay,
and it will be at 8 AM,
okay.
just so you know,
All right.
not at 6 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
See, I think I have one more piece of paper in here. We received notification that Janice Mangold's term had expired for the Public Library Board. And they are recommending that she be they're re-nominating her. They're asking us to reappoint her back to the library board.
I'll make a motion to do that.
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
You want me to go on? Address you? No, on.
Uh,
You're just ready.
yeah, that's fine. Discuss the next topic that I had on here, at our last meeting, we had voted to um, extend an offer on a maintenance position. And so I had talked with that individual. They had countered our salary price, our salary amount, with an increase. And the question, I guess, that I had at this point was, are we comfortable with asking council for the additional of $10,000 to the salary price? We would also have to include an additional for the perf and FICA. My consideration here, my question is the price that we're coming to, is the juice worth the squeeze, basically? I think that the maintenance position can add a number of very beneficial things here. Keep track of maintenance on our buildings, let us know what the true status is of all of our county buildings. They're going to be able to do a lot of these repairs and other things in-house, which will save us from having to go out and find somebody to do it, wait for their schedule to open up, and then come in and do it. Save Patty the headache of having to be the one that organizes all of that. They're going to be in charge of multiple county buildings, and so we'll have, I think, a better grasp on exactly where we are, and we can get things done quicker. But the question for me is are we getting a commensurate product for the price?
I believe we are.
Okay.
I believe it is worth the cost to make that additional pay. I believe it is worth that. I know we've had some discussion on enveloping the mowing into that job. I think we had a $14,000 budget to mow this year. If and that's already been awarded, if we look at this maintenance position and see that he's able to do that as well, I think that's where the possibility of additional income comes from. That's one avenue you look at, but I do believe that to get qualified, capable candidates, we're going to have to be able to pay them.
Yeah, and for clarity, on my side too, I don't think that the rebuttal was out of the normal for what you would expect the position to be paid. I agree. I think if we're going to work towards a capital improvement plan and know where everything in the county states as far as condition and expected time of replacement, the only way we get there is somebody actively looking at it. I think most of all the contractors that we use are great. However, we can't rely on them to give us a forecast, right? There's an incentive for them versus somebody who works for us. I've also been working with a facilities software maintenance company that would allow us to potentially list everything out and keep good record and track of everything that would happen, serial numbers, for instance, Department of Homeland Security certificates, everything would be able to flow through that. But there's got to be somebody who does that. You know, it's input out is only as good as input in, right? So I think there has to be, personal opinion in this situation, I think there has to be somebody here that does that. I definitely think the mowing could be incorporated, which if we look at what we budgeted this year for mowing, which I think was your point, if we lose that next year, that's still under the amount or roughly the same amount. So.
Patty, do you have anything to add on the topic since you are the point person for maintenance countywide, basically?
Well, I mean, there's a lot involved just because of the different buildings that we have. And if you're not, you know, as I feel like the annex is probably somewhat overlooked, stepchild over there. And we, you know, just because we're not there every day, we don't see all the projects. So there's a lot to it and a lot of time involved.
Which would relieve you from doing that. And you could be more effective in your job. Take it off your plate.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of reactiveness to everything that we do today, right?
There is.
We're not actively seeking out, and it's not that you're doing it, but you have other things to do. That's not your role. I know.
I think we've improved a lot where we've kind of gotten, you know, your list, more contacts, you know, who does what. But, you know, again, what we're doing is reacting when something goes wrong, thing leaks, something fixed rather than put it on a schedule.
I YouTube how to stop the water from spraying out of the toilet before. Because
The rest of the findings,
you know,
if I have to
just,
happen, I'll call you.
and you know, just because it was happening and we couldn't get anybody here and it was just,
A little bit of administrative skills.
Mhm.
Just maintenance.
And
That's correct.
Managing the,
And some of that was taken into consideration
Yeah.
during interviews too, because we know what we're looking for, right? I mean,
pull off what you're discussing, which is great, as long as that person
And-
understands.
both of these guys were present. This set of interviews, I was out with the flu. And so I know that in the summary of notes that you guys sent me, you had discussed comfort level with technology, ability to communicate effectively with all sorts of different individuals, the public, staff, that look at the schedule, prioritize those kinds of things. So,
Absolutely.
okay. All right, I will get on the agenda then for the next council meeting. Come and see you guys in a little over a week, right?
Yeah, make sure you bring the qualifications of the person you have.
I had emailed you, Bill.
Okay,
all
see, I didn't get
the-
my email for
Okay.
about a month.
Yeah, I emailed you guys already.
Okay.
Their like resume and everything
Okay.
and the job description. And so you should have that. If you don't, just let me know.
All the council got that.
All right, I will get on their agenda then for the third Tuesday. Looks like the 24th.
15. Pretty sure it's 15.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at
Or
the.
like it's 10.
Yeah.
You come 20 seconds if you want to.
Will you be here?
You don't have to wait another week, another month.
Yep.
Make sure you got your taxes done, Dan.
Huh?
Make sure you have your taxes done.
I just mailed them in this morning.
All right.
My wife would make a check out.
One notice, friendly reminder, we are continuing to ask county employees to park in the lot that we have across from the courthouse so that we aren't using the available parking that are in front of businesses here at the courthouse. We want to make sure the businesses have spots for their people to come in, their patrons to come in and actually go into the business. I know in the little over 2 years that I've been a commissioner, we've made the same reminder. So just please use the extra parking. That's all that's on my list. Gabe?
Yes, South Decatur Elementary, they have a really cool program called the Kids Biz. They are having a car show and 5K run walk on April 26th. I sent you all a map. Todd, I copied you and Sheriff. They are looking to start at the south entrance of the elementary school, stay on that North High School Road, run south all the way into Westport on the first road. They'll go around the little island and then go back that same path. So as far as closing some of those crossroads, it's just the first four-way and then the next road that tees into it. And we'll have to have something probably monitor at that other intersection. We can try to get Westport involved as well. But that road would need to be closed from roughly 8:30 to 12. They spoke with me a month ago, and they originally were just going to ask for support at the intersection, and the sheriff and I were not comfortable with that. So we suggested the road closing, and we will support that.
And Todd, you can get some road closure
Yeah.
signs from the highway department.
Type threes and have them out there before, then they'd just be responsible for setting them up,
We can do that.
laying them back down, we come back, yeah.
And we're more than happy to do that. Set the barricades.
I would make a motion to accept the road closure for that day.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye. And those opposed, motion carries. Looks like 420 West down through Cougar Road, Kentucky Avenue, down to North Street and Westport. Looks like at a minimum, those intersections will be closed.
And all the other streets in Westport, we made to go out and around for the most part, you know, so it's.
That part. Yep. Anything else for the good of the order? Going once, going twice, I would entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second, we are recessed.
Okay.
Good luck. You.
Patty?